So now we have these objects which we said we will create as we go along, and the objects may create other objects and all that. But the other part of it was the procedures, right. So the procedures are now something where, so normally what happens, we call a procedure, and we wait for the procedure. So we pass some parameters to it. So like we say, I want the maximum physics marks,
something like that.
So then it will take physics, and then it will look through that, and we wait, get the answer, and once we get the answer,
once you call the procedure, we don't do anything. We're just waiting.
We're just waiting, right. So basically, it's like you cannot do anything.
Can't do anything.
Yeah, so you're stuck.
Procedure is doing something.
Yeah.
Procedure is doing something.
Yeah.
And at the end of the procedure has a way of.
Yeah. So there is a way to give the procedure parameters, and there is a way for the procedure to return things back to us, and we are all sort of sitting in the same.
So when we did it with cards, you wrote the thing and gave it to me. I was the procedure. You called it this thing, right? Subcontractor.
Yeah.
So you wrote the cards and gave it to me. I did the work.
And you gave it back.
And I gave the result back on another card.
Yeah, on another card.
Now all these cards presumably are shared between the two of us.
Yeah.
So I can see the cards you gave me, and you can see the card I gave back to you, and so this is an environment or context in which we are doing this.
Yeah. Okay. So now, on the other hand, if we are now talking to procedures that are executed by objects. Right? So then we have to tell the object to do something.
It has a procedure inside.
So procedure inside. We are not directly calling the procedure. We are telling the object, please execute.
So there is a problem. Right? The problem is
that
where is the context?
Yeah, because we are sitting in some
cards which we are exchanging.
Yeah.
Are they inside the object, or if they are inside the object, the outside guy doesn't have access?
Exactly. So
they are outside the object.
Like we are in two different rooms or two different locations or two different.
So this is a complicated thing. So now if the cards, these cards that we are exchanging, parameter and result, we are outside the object, then the object can't see it.
Yeah.
So the procedure can't see it.
Correct.
On the other hand, if it is inside the object,
then we can't put
we
it.
Can't see it.
Extract it
because we can't go inside the box, not take out the. You're not allowed to go inside the box.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You're only allowed to call the procedure.
So we need to somehow
we have to
communicate, send a message or some kind of instruction we have to tell.
We need some way to
pass this.
So like in the the example you took of the.
Yeah, exactly. Like in that
service booth, service center, there is a glass pane.
Yeah.
Usually they have a little hole there.
Yeah. So you're passing.
If they give me your ID card or something, you can
put it there.
Put it there.
Yeah.
And if she wants to return some money or something,
there will be another slot, and then you can pick it up.
Pick it up from there.
Yeah. So there is a designated place where this transfer of information happens.
So you can push things and take things out. You can give and take back.
Yeah.
So so you need a way by which the object has to not only allow us to call the procedures, it has to give us a way by which we can pass things to the procedure.
Correct.
And the procedure can return things back. So some method of communication.
Yeah. Correct.
To the object, right?
Yes.
Some messaging you're saying.
Yeah. So basically here we can just put it in an agreed place. Here it is. It will be in this box, this tray. Right?
The tray has to be passed to the
block. They will say. Yeah, sometimes they do that also. No? They will pass you a tray and say put your things in the tray and then take it back. So there is like if you go into some of these, it happens also when you go into some of these hotels, right? When they want to you pass through a metal detector and they'll put your wallet and your keys and your phone in a tray, and then you go on the other side and pick it up. So
like that.
So it's like that. So yeah, so
you have some mechanism, some tray in which you can put your parameters.
Yeah.
You push it
and it will come back with.
And that person will put the result and then push it back.
Push it back to you, correct.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So you need this tray mechanism. We need messaging, some mechanism.
Yeah. So this tray works if you are close to the procedure, right? So if I'm executing an object's procedure and the object is in some sense, where I can directly interact with the object, then it makes sense. Like I'm going to an ATM and I can press the buttons.
Okay.
Right? Because the ATM is a box and I can touch that box and pass the buttons.
It has to be nearby only. Otherwise, how do you even contact it, right?
Well, supposing it is like our subcontractor. So we want somebody to print some cards for us.
Can be somewhere else. Can be Bangalore.
Maybe another city. So we send the instructions saying I want this done.
Oh, I see. I can send it on internet. I can send email.
Yeah, I could send the instructions. If the instructions doesn't require a physical thing, I can send it by internet.
So I send an email to the fellow.
Yeah.
Or a WhatsApp message.
Yeah.
And then that becomes the message.
That becomes the message. And then again, let's see.
The guy might ask me questions about the card and all. So I might send him what kind of card layout and all I want.
Yeah.
And send him. by WhatsApp.
Yeah, and then he will send back a design maybe first. I mean, so that there's no physical thing involved. It's easier that way.
Yeah.
But again, he'll send a message.
And then I can send him okay, and then he will send me the cards by courier.
Yeah,
Huh?
if that's required, yes, then there will have to be some other way to send the cards. But supposing, for
I see.
simplicity, we don't have to send the cards. Supposing I'm just saying, prepare a poster for me,
Ah.
right? So this is what the information should be on the poster. You should have that event and all that.
Yeah.
Prepare a nice layout.
Maybe a website. Make a website. Ah.
So you give the
I give the design to them.
design saying, this is what I want, the information I want. You design it in an attractive way. After some time, the guy will come back to me and say, here it is. You can take a look at it. And if we agree, we're done.
So in this case, this is interesting. So which means what we are saying is that this object need not be nearby. Huh?
Yeah, there's
Can
no
be far
reason.
away.
There's no reason. So basically,
then-
our subcontractor can be in a different city. Yeah.
And then when I call this procedure, or I tell this object to do a procedure, this call or this thing is actually happening far away.
Yeah. So what we think of as just one, the normal thing that I call a procedure with a parameter,
Ah.
and then the procedure returns an answer to me. It's hiding this whole thing in this case, where somehow that calling the procedure involves sending
the message,
the parameter, and returning from the thing with the answer
So
also
you have
involves.
three things going on, right? So when I call a procedure, this is what? This is remote.
Yeah, it's called it a remote procedure call.
It's called a remote procedure. Okay.
So we have remote procedure call.
Remote procedure.
So normally we just, supposing we are calling some P with some ABC, right, as parameters. And now we want to store the answer in some X. So this is
Okay.
how we would normally write it.
write it.
Right? So this means that you first call this guy, right? And these are the parameters. And then the return value comes by
And
magic
sits in
to
X.
us.
And sits in X.
And we store it in X.
But now this call, what you're saying is that this, okay, now it's an object, right? So let's say.
yeah, so now P is sitting, now P is sitting somewhere here. So P is sitting inside the object, and we have an object there.
So you'll get object dot P, you will say
Yeah,
object.
yeah,
You'll
you'll
tell
say
the object.
you'll tell the object execute P for me. So you'll have to somehow pass both the name, which, I mean, because it could have different procedure, right? It could have P, Q, R. There could be many different things it can do. So you tell what to do,
You give
right?
it.
And you have to tell it what
What are the parameters?
are the parameters to pass to it.
So I'm saying, hey object. So object, do P with parameters ABC. So
Yeah.
this is a message. Some
That's
way I
a-
will
yeah,
write this.
So this is one message.
I
going
send
on.
this message to the object, and this object now is far away.
Yeah, potentially it could be far away.
And so I send, so it's a remote procedure. So I'm to the remote object, I'm sending
yeah.
a call. It's a call.
Yeah,
It's like a call only, no difference.
no difference. The only difference is, is what goes on underneath.
So I'm making a call, a remote procedure call.
Yeah.
You call it, right? So I make a remote procedure call. So I make a call to this object which is far away,
Yeah.
call it and tell it to do a procedure,
Hmm.
give it the parameters, and it returns the result, and I store the result in X. So the actual writing of this will be X equal to object dot P.
Yeah, so
Maybe
from the
something like that.
yeah, so in my pseudo code or whatever equivalent code, I will just write the same thing, right? I will say X equal to object dot P ABC. So there is
Such a
no big
cute
change.
thing, huh? But inside this is written so many things.
Yeah, so inside
Because
this
here-
means convert that ABC
First.
and P into a message, send it to the object.
P also, P and ABC.
Yeah.
All of
Then there is a corresponding message which comes back.
them. Some message is coming back, and then I'm storing the result in
Yeah,
X.
which is some result. And then over here I finally put that result back into X.
All of that, all this business,
Yeah.
make a message out of this, send it to the other object,
Yeah.
this object. Then this object actually does that work, calls P inside, passes it the parameters, does all those things, finds the result, sends the result back in the form of a message. This guy takes the result from the message,
And
unpacks it,
And,
and
yeah,
puts it in it. All that is inside this one line.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. So from as a high level thing, from our understanding what is happening, we just need to know that this is what is happening. We called a procedure, we got the answer, stored it in X, but while executing it, it got translated into these
Some
multiple.
internet thing and all happened.
Yeah.
It went on the internet.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. So
then
the
it
way we
called
write
it-
this, we don't know when we write this. I mean, this same by reading it, we wouldn't know by reading it whether or not this object is away or it
Nearby.
is nearby. So effectively, we are using the same.
This is the thing, I mean, this is interesting, right? Because in a computer, I sit in the front of the computer. Sometimes I write a program, I run an application. The app is running locally. Sometimes I open a browser, and I'm looking at some browser links and all. But now nothing is happening locally actually.
Correct.
Huh?
Right, so even the app could be like that. So
You don't
say
even
you're,
know
Yeah.
the
So
app.
say you're trying to order from a restaurant or something like that. Right?
It may not be running here. Huh?
So when the menu comes, it will look up the menu from somewhere, right? If you want to try and order some food
It's looking up somewhere
Yeah.
else.
So
It looks as if it's local.
yeah. So to you it looks as though you're just asking for something and you get the answer. It's like same as you're using a calculator on your screen. Now that surely if you're doing 7 times 5 on your screen, it's happening.
It's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere. Right?
That is sure,
Or
yeah.
if you're setting the alarm, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But when you're asking this kind of information, it's actually going out and coming back. Right?
It's going somewhere and coming back. You don't know, but
Yeah, you have no idea.
you have no idea.
Yeah, except that you might see a delay in the sense that it doesn't
Because
come.
it takes some time.
Takes some time.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it does that.
Yeah, but
circuit.
also it could be that your phone is slow and
Okay.
so
So there some kind of remote procedure call like thing is going on.
yeah. So I think in some way we are using this whenever we interact with things which are connected, and we don't know how much of and sometimes also these things are also stored. The second time you ask the same question, it might just
You return it from locally.
yeah, it might keep a copy so that it doesn't have to ask again. So in fact, in this web browser they do it. That they have this cache. they call
Keep it locally.
Yeah. So you download a page once to see it. You go back to the same page, it doesn't download again unless you have deleted it. Or
So this is a phenomenal,
yeah.
abstraction. I mean, phenomenal way of simplifying
Yeah.
very complicated.
Correct, because you don't need to decide whether to send a message, not to send a message. For you it's about object obj, it has a procedure, you want to call it. Right? So you just call it as though it were inside your own context or inside your own environment, without worrying about where it is, and it will get taken care of by the way the system works.
And in fact, actually, on the other side, this object may change the value of this procedure, may decide internally, because it's taking a message and deciding what to do.
Yeah.
You give it a message, it may call something else also. You don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Like we saw this physics teacher has gone on leave, he will call some other physics teacher. He can do all that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So for instance, supposing this was the message is to find the meaning of a word. Yeah, so the object is so you give it a complicated word, it's supposed to give you some meaning.
It's a dictionary.
Now, yeah, but it is not using, today it might be using one dictionary, tomorrow so it might have PQRR calls, one is Oxford dictionary, one is Cambridge dictionary, one is Webster dictionary.
So
Now,
it first used Oxford.
yeah, so you just say, I want meaning. Today it might give you from Oxford, tomorrow it might give you from Cambridge. As long as you don't tell it, use that dictionary, it's free to choose. So that way the internal thing is not dictated by our call. So
they can keep on getting better and better, and you won't even know.
Yeah.
Right? It may
Or
faster
worse.
for them.
Or worse.
Or worse. Hopefully not worse. Yeah. So that is interesting. So this is a beautiful way of separating things, right? So
Yeah.
modularizing the.
Yeah. So again, this need to know, right? I don't need to know what dictionary it's using as long as it gives me reliable answers.
Yeah.
So it can choose whichever dictionary works well for it and tell me the answer. So it's like that physics teacher. So I don't need to know who the physics teacher is, as long as when I need the marks, I can get the marks.
Correct.
Class teacher will offer that. I guarantee you that I will give you the physics marks whenever you need it. Just ask me.